Welcome to the BrettJohnson.biz podcast, where we discuss business on purpose, radically fresh leadership, capital that transforms society, and marketplace stories that embolden difference makers. Well, welcome to the Repurposing Business podcast. We are here with Marie-Ange, one of our favorite French speakers in the world, I think, Marie-Ange. Yeah, and what a beautiful name. And we remember when we first met you, such an amazing time. And by that stage, I just said to Lyn yesterday, I wish I knew all that you'd been through before we met you. By the time we met you, you were Dr. Marie-Ange, already graduated from UC Berkeley, but there was such a long story before that. So we'd love to dig into that, explore your journey, talk about some of the key lessons you've learned in life, because you've certainly been in touch with the inflection points in your life and learned lessons from them and kept going. So we'd love to explore that with you. Thanks for joining us, Marie-Ange. Lyn, what's the book?
Well, I'm so excited for such a time as this. Written by Marie-Ange, From Humble Roots in Africa to Silicon Valley Leadership. So Marie-Ange, I've just finished reading it. We ordered it the moment that it came out, and I am so deeply impressed by your story and by what you've recorded in this book. And Brett and I are so excited to chat with you today. So welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Brett. Thank you, Lyn. I feel really humble. I feel grateful. I give all the glory to God. I love you both. You are my favorite people. Your name is in the acknowledgement, who I am as a
Thank you.
marketplace minister. Started with you putting the seed in my heart when I was just a new professional after my PhD. So I am very indebted to what you've poured into my life and many other, I think thousands and thousands of other marketplace ministers. So thank you for having me in your podcast.
Thanks, Marie-Ange. It's great to have you. You know, a little while ago, Lyn and I read a book written by a lady from Africa as well. And it was interesting, and I've heard her give some talks since then. But I really loved your story. I think it's an amazing story. So let's go back all the way. And, you know, as we look forward, I think the timing of the story is great. You know, as we see the emergence of young people in Africa, hugely growing population, whereas in some parts of the world it's shrinking. Average age last time I checked was 19 years old or something like that. I mean, it's very, very young. And so there'll be many people from Africa who listen to this and get hope from your story. At the same time, not everybody is as exceptional as you. You're an amazing person. So take us back in your journey. Where were you born? And tell us where you were raised.
Yeah, I was born in Cameroon. It's a small country, I think more mid-size in Africa, in Central Africa, next to Nigeria. Nigeria is the big country. Everybody knows Nigeria. So our moment of fame is 1990 Soccer World Cup. People who love soccer. Cameroon was the underdog and play against Argentina, that was the world champion in soccer, and Maradona was the best player at the time. He now passed away, and Cameroon beat Argentina 1-0. So we became famous. Everybody who knows soccer know Cameroon.
In 1990, didn't they play that in the Bay Area? Wasn't that
Yes, they came 4 years. That World Cup was in Italy. So that I remember. But 4 years later, they came to the US. That was a World Cup in the US, and they play in the Bay Area. You are correct. Because many friends told me they went to the game in Stanford University to see the team.
We actually went to a game there as well. So
Okay. So many people who love soccer know about Cameroon. So I was really born, I call it, that's really humble roots. My parents divorced when I was really young. In the book, I say 5 years old. I believe it's around that time. My mom, she was a trailblazer on her own. You guys have met her at my wedding in France. She has her own story. She fought for, as a woman in profession in Africa, it's not easy to get where she is. So when the divorce happened I think it's still common even today. it's not as common or as popular in America. Divorce is still a shame. It's a shame. It's taboo. It doesn't look good in you. So imagine a woman who just divorced, and she was fighting to get the custody of her kid. There was a lot of mess there, but eventually she got the kids, and we grew up with my mom. So single mom in Africa at that time, it was not common. It was not common. It was a professional woman. So during that time, actually, that was her own journey of encountering God, her own story of meeting the Lord and having her personal journey with Christ, because she was really seeking. And that's how eventually I got to know the Lord and gave my heart to Christ. But my upbringing, I talk about that a lot in first and second chapter. A lot of family tradition. Africa is very communal. You don't live for yourself like in America. It's not individualist. It's a family thing. The success of a kid is the success of the community. People celebrate. Like there's a lot of young people, and it's an oral tradition. The elderly want to pour into the kids to teach them about everything that happened before. So I grew up in that tradition. Like auntie, uncle, neighbors are like your parents. You respect them. You treat them as your parents. And so my mom.
I noticed you left a few things out of the book. So, for example, when you were young, shortly after you became a believer, you used to catch the bus from your village to like the nearby town and so on, and preach on the bus, right?
You remember the story that I shared at RIP? Yes. It was still in the capital city. We grew up in Yaoundé, the capital city. So it was for instance, from my school to our house, our apartment, it could be like 8-10 miles where I was catching the bus. And yes, during my bus ride, I always had some tracts and something about Jesus. I was so passionate about the gospel. I was so in love with Jesus, and this is still my passion today. When I see young kids at that age, I was 11. I remember I was that age when I encountered the love, and he changed my life. He changed my life. Who I am today is the deposit that happened when I was in Cameroon. So you are correct. I used to just not be ashamed. I'm a bold person. I grew up as a bold. I was just sharing about what God has done in my life. And people thought it was crazy. And what are you talking about? But another thing also you talk about, like being raised in Africa, was the fact that in at least in Cameroon at the time, the elder, they keep the wisdom, right? You don't challenge the authority. You just challenge. You don't ask. I used to ask a lot of why, right? You don't, even today, you don't ask a lot of why this is blue, why this is red. And I was that child who was always asking questions that maybe people are thinking about, but they don't want to ask, right? Because it could be considered disrespectful. I talk a little bit about that in the book. I was very bold. I was very I want to stand for righteousness. And when there's something that I don't understand that doesn't make sense, I would ask the question, why don't we do different? And that was considered at the time not politically correct. You don't do that as a kid. But I was that kid. God made me that way, courageous, bold. I was ambitious, very young. I have a conversation in my book where one of my aunt asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I tell her I want to be the first woman on the moon. I wanted to become an astronaut when I was growing up. Imagine a 7 years old, a little girl in Africa saying she wants to be the first woman on the moon. She was like, what are you talking about? What are you drinking? You don't do that. I mean, where is that coming from? And that conversation, she said, women don't go to the moon. Women get married and have babies. You remember I don't know if So in the way she grew up, right? As a woman, as a girl, you are raised to get married and have kids. And that's what many of the girls were doing by the time you are maybe a teenager or you finish high school or college. Success for a woman is to get married and have kids. But me, I wanted to go to the moon. I wanted to. Like, where are you getting that idea from? Right? So this was my challenge growing up. And I was also an A-type student. If you saw my book, when I had B, I was crying. And I was interviewing some of my classmates. I'm still in touch with at least 10 of my classmates where we were in elementary and middle school and high school. This is a common theme. They all say the same thing. When you had B in class, it was like the sky was falling. You were crying. I was a perfectionist. I wanted to get A, and I was working so hard for that. I love math. I love science. even from a young age, and I really wanted to give the best. So these are some of the stuff that I'm sharing in Memoir that kind of made who I am even today. Like it started very young. It started very young.
Yeah, great.
What do you think that both the challenges and the advantages that you had from your growing up? I know you had definite challenges and definite difficulties that you had to overcome, but obviously there were things that were built into you because of your upbringing. Can you share a little bit about that?
Beautiful question. I love the question. And I had chance to reflect about that as I was writing the book, and even as I raised my kids that are all American. They were born in the Bay Area in the US. Some of the beauty and experience that I feel like my kids, who I feel like now they are privileged, they are born in the US, is the fact that because we didn't have much, right? You don't have much, you are living in a well family and you're helping each other, you get compassion. You understand that whatever you have, how do I share with other people? Right? I like to tell my kids, I don't want you to be spoiled. I take my kids to homeless. Right now, we do that in San Jose. I want you to see that most of the world population actually, by the way, live like this. They don't know when is the next meal going to be. They don't know. I don't buy 10 shoes to my kids. I don't blame people who do that. But I'm asking Ian, when he wants something that is $100, I say, why do you want to pay for 100 at 7 years old? Come on. For me, I don't, for me, I will not do that. I will tell you, you need one pair of shoes, two pair of shoes is all you need. You don't need 10, even though I can afford it, though I can afford it today. So this value of appreciating the minimum and having compassion and thinking about, because I have another perspective that I have family, friends who don't know what the next meal is going to be. And I would rather send the money, I would rather help, I would rather see, how do we create opportunity, entrepreneur. That's what I talk to my kids every day. How do we make, I took them to Cameroon like 2 years ago. I say, look at all the problem. Now I want you to use your brain. Use your brain. How can we help? How can we make a difference? So that perspective, many people who didn't grow up in an impoverished place or who they don't have that perspective. So for me, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. And of course,
I remember when I was at university, I had a guy come knock on my door. This happens in Africa, and he needed clothes or he needed something. And I thought, my shoes are getting a bit old. I need a new pair of shoes. So
you only had one pair of shoes.
Yeah, so I gave him my shoes, thinking if I give him my shoes, God will give me a new pair of shoes.
This is me.
God, another new pair of shoes didn't come Brett's way, and he didn't have any shoes at all.
But I'm sure Brett eventually got provided, right? Eventually.
Eventually.
That's me. I think the same way, Brett, by the way. I say, if I don't have enough, even today, if I have my $500, somebody's in need, I will give you 200, 300. God will provide. I still believe that. He's a good provider, he's a good father, and he wants me to be a blessing to other people. I'm not asking to be irresponsible. I'm not asking to be irresponsible. But my heart of compassion, caring, how can I live a life of impact? For me, this is little stuff where I feel like we can all live a life of legacy for such a time like this. We can do something, leave the world a better place if you read the book.
Marie-Ange, I loved reading the chapter when you arrived in the United States as an immigrant.
Yes.
And we came as immigrants, but in a different situation completely, because Brett had a job and we had someone who was going to welcome us when we arrived in California, because that was all set up. But reading your story and the incredible hardship that you faced, both from trying to find your way around, trying to fit in, trying to adjust, and then the incredible financial challenges that you faced, and what you ended up doing, it's actually gave me an extra compassion for immigrants broadly that we have in this country, and that very, very difficult time. Share a little bit about that and what enabled you to actually press through, because you had so much determination, unbelievable determination. Share a little bit about that season.
And maybe some of your first impressions, because somebody once said to me, "Oh, do you think God ever wants you to move?" But God often relocates us to repurpose us. That's what it's quite common in scripture. I mean, he did it with the whole nation of Israel, but he did it with people again and again. And there's many Christians who think, I don't want to leave my town. I don't want to leave my village. And it's very uncomfortable. So give us also some of your first impressions when you came to the US, like some of your, like what struck you, positive, negative? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Definitely resilience, grit, determination is a key part of my story. So when I came to America again, I was raised by my mom when my parents divorced. To give you a context, my mom was a medical doctor. She was a trailblazer by her own situation, her time where she grew up. But in America, being a medical doctor is such a status thing. You make a lot of money. I did a conversion of how much the franc CFA, our currency, Cameroonian currency, in US dollar, has salary was per month. It was $200 per month.
Wow.
As a medical doctor in Cameroon, it's $200 US per month.
Yeah.
So she basically had to save 10 plus years of her life to pay one semester in America. 10 plus years. Plus putting in her house almost on sale for me. She believed in me and my sister. She poured everything she got. I bless God for my mom. I bless God for my mom. She said, go and shoot for the sky. I will support you. So I have the number in my memoir. It's 15 US dollar. That's all she had. So I knew, like we say, it's a community thing. Your family pour their life into you to go and succeed. So first, when I even arrived, there was no option to fail, right? And I couldn't look back in Cameroon that more money will come. I was like, she gave everything. That's what you got. Use it and do and go and make succeed. But again, I have a faith in God. I put my faith in God. I trust in the Lord in all the steps. The first year was hard. This $15,000 actually eventually were shared between me and my sister, because at the same time, my sister went to Germany. So we're trying to share this. That's all my mom got for both of us. So the first semester, the money ran out. So I was looking for a job outside of campus, right? I was like, what am I going to do? Many of the job, no, I got a lot of rejection. That's where the resilience come. What do you do when they keep on saying no? And it was actually blue collar job. There was no, like, you want to work in the bookstore, in the school. You want to maybe work in I had a tutorial job that was basic because I was good in math. Eventually off campus, I found a job in a fast food. I was a cashier, cleaning the table, like waitress, and cleaning the bathroom. I appreciate blue collar people today. I did that for 2 years. I was working in the night because I was in school during the day, and during the night I was going to work to be able to I was making minimum wage, $5 an hour. I was the one sometimes opening the fast food and closing the fast food, again, cleaning the table, cleaning the bathroom, living on tips. The money was barely enough. You are making minimum wage. I could only maybe pay my rent and maybe eat with that. The tuition, I can't count on that to pay for the tuition. Still maintaining a 4.0. I was good. Math was my passion. I was able to maintain a 4.0 GPA. So what happened after, working one semester, one of my professors saw my determination to succeed, saw my passion, my drive. He was able to make an exception, a scholarship that was not meant for international students. It was not meant for me. It was sponsored by the National Science Foundation. So you had to be either permanent resident or US citizen to get the scholarship. They made an exception, giving my hard work, my determination, the grade that I have, excellence. They say we cannot let this young kid, international student, drop out of school because of money. I see God's faithfulness. And I also see, like you say, resilience, determination. They saw the work. I put the work on it. I put the work. I didn't, I took 26 units per semester because
That's amazing.
I was trying to finish as soon as I didn't have any I was not even thinking rationally. I have to survive. Do I want to go back to Cameroon? No, right? I mean, what do I do? You have only one half option. I have to get as many credit as I can, and I got the authorization after begging my dean of academic affairs, please, super please, this is the situation. I need to take that many credit. He said, okay, I'm going to make an exception. I've never done that. I've never done that in my life. if your GPA fall, we stop this thing. So the semester that he gave me the authorization, I got a 4.0 GPA. He was so impressed. I was like, this is why I do this job. You encourage me. So in 2.5 years, I was able to finish my bachelor in mathematics and computer science.
And you were the valedictorian.
I was the valedictorian of my class. I was the valedictorian. So what did I do? Coming to the question of Brett, I definitely know that God had opened the door for me to come to the US. I skipped that portion. Actually, let me go back to the portion about the embassy. Do you remember the US embassy situation when I went to get the visa?
The story.
I tell the story, yeah.
So in people who are in America, you have the blue passport. The blue passport is the US passport. Sometimes you don't appreciate what you have. You don't appreciate that this is gold for some people in the world, just being able to have this passport. And I tell that to my kids. You don't need to get visa. You don't just that paper. So in order to come to the US in many of the developing countries, you have to go get a visa in the US embassy. And it's not easy, right? They will really want to make sure that you are who you say you are coming, and which is right. I'm not saying this is wrong, but who you say you are coming for the right reason. You are not going to stay. Eventually, when you say you are an international student, you go back. So there are a lot of requirements, the paper they are asking you. So even with my admission, I did a test of English as a foreign language, as my French was my language, my first language. The bank statement, the 15,000 that my mom saved, there was one hurdle. Can you prove that you're going to come back to Cameroon? And there's no paper that can prove that. You can say, yes, I want to come back, I want to develop. But there's no, people come and they don't come back, right? There's no one paper that will show that you can come back. So during the interview, then I went again, I prayed in the morning when I went to I still remember the picture I was praying. I'm like, God, I don't have any paper. You're just going to have to go with me, go ahead of me and do the miracle. I was seated, and you see one student after one student getting rejected, they are crying that they got rejected. And when I asked the question, what is the last paper? Show me that you're going to come back to Cameroon. There's no paper, basically your word. So when I got to talk to the consul, I show her, she asked me, what do you want to do in America? Who you are, who is going to pay for your study? I show her all the stuff. She took maybe 2 or 3 minutes. That seems like eternity. She was looking at my transcript and all my work excellence, all the academic excellence, and she sat down. I still remember she looked at me. She said, Miss Eyoum, you are a brilliant young girl. America will love you. As you go there, America will love you. I don't care if you ever come back. That was the first time that the consul said that. I don't think you'll ever come back, but I will encourage you to never forget your homeland. This country needs you. I still remember I was 18.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know America at the time. Imagine like somebody at that time sees something in you. That you are a bright, you will make a difference in America. But this country needs you. So as I'm writing that chapter, I'm actually talking to a young African. I'm thinking about you. You are probably in the place where I used to be, dreaming big. And this is one of the reasons I'm writing my memoir, is to give you hope, is to inspire you that you can change the world. You can change the world. The sky is the limit. So that portion is God, Brett. I just see God there as a young girl, right? So I knew God brought me here. So I had to believe that despite all the challenges, like you were saying, despite all the difficulty, financial difficulty, cultural adjustment, no family around, there's a purpose, a bigger purpose. And as I stick into his will, just continue to work hard. That was my motto. Continue to be resilient. You're going to fall. I knew I'm going to fall down, but trust God and stand up again. Continue to run the race. That's all I did, Lyn. I didn't have any other option. Like, continue to apply. They say no here, you go to the next door, apply again. They say no, and eventually God brought angel. I am thankful. I stand in the shoulder of giants. I stand in the shoulder of giants. God bring angel into your life. Sometimes you don't even understand. If you see my acknowledgement, God used professor to show me research internship that I could apply for. That helped me to get into Berkeley, because to get into a school like Berkeley, you have to have research internship in good school. Like I went to Princeton University, I went to UCSD. It was one of my faculty members who saw something in me, right? Madu paying my tuition, right? I see a lot of like God bringing people as you are working hard, they see your determination, your grit, your grit, right, to succeed, you bring angel. And I do believe all of us, if we look in our life, there are people, God using people in your path to propel you to where you are. So I'm really grateful. I don't think I've reached where I am. It's just by me. I see the hands of God and the faithfulness of God.
Yeah.
And those so-called small things that the professor might have just ignored the prompting to do it, or might have been busy and put it aside. But the fact that they actually made the effort to come and suggest something to you, now when you look back, you can see how key that was in the whole trajectory of your story. And yet at the time, they might not have thought they were even doing something so valuable, which means for all of us, there can be just that small thing that we do for somebody that in years to come, they look back and go, if that person hadn't just stopped to tell me about that opportunity, or write that reference letter, or connect me with that person.
Yeah.
Yes, you got it, Lyn. Lyn. I went back to all the people in my acknowledgement page and I said, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you brought in my life. You never knew at that moment that scholarship that you gave me is what made me stay in America.
Yeah.
I told all the people that you see in that acknowledgement, I actually want to say thank you. Thank you. So yeah, you are correct. All of us, and that's the message I'm giving. I'm getting emotional, sorry. But that's the message I'm actually sending to all of us out there. That a little thing, a little action, even to a blue collar. I told you I started as a blue collar. I made $5 an hour. Right? Somebody, I remember people giving me tips, and the tips like $2 or $3 tip that will make my meal for next day. They didn't know my story. That my mom gave everything for me to be there, and I didn't have food for the next day. So they would tip me so that I can eat something next day. So I really want to call to all of us who are listening to this podcast. If we love Jesus, do something for somebody else.
Yeah.
And you don't know what that action, what you think maybe it's a little action, what it means for that person and what it can be in 10 years, 20 years from today.
Yeah, no, that's so powerful. So, Marie-Ange, I didn't know this when I knew you. I knew you had a doctorate from Berkeley, but I didn't know that you were the first African woman to get a PhD in electrical engineering and computer science. And I think that is absolutely unbelievable, so remarkable, so incredible. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I could barely understand the description of what you did your PhD on, but you're so brilliant and you were so faithful.
I think when I was doing the research, I actually tried to go back to Berkeley, look at the electrical engineering department was around for 100 years, who are all the women and Black women. Of course, there were not many. I counted 4, and Sheila Humphrey, I recognize her. She was one of my mentor, one of the diversity leader in EECS. She called her Dr. Taylor. I know her. She's now at one of the national lab. There was one lady, she's from Sierra Leone, but I believe she was born in the US. I think so. I just want to make sure I'm getting it correct. I actually recognize her in the book. But born in the continent, who came as an international student, I am the first one. So it's humbling to think that in one of the best institutions in the world, it's been around for, like I said, the electrical engineering department was around for 100 years. I'm a trailblazer, I'm a pioneer. So when I was getting my degree, actually the last day I'm going to the graduation before coming to all the challenge, I was walking on the stage with all this amazing, bright mind from all over the world. And all I was tearing up, all was what I was remembering is thinking about the little girl coming from Cameroon. I was thinking about many of the young girls who might read my story and who might say, I can be that woman tomorrow. That's what was going in my head. It's like, I'm a pioneer, I'm a trailblazer, and I want to demonstrate to other young girls, other African girls, that it doesn't matter where you are coming from. It doesn't matter if you have money or you don't have money. It doesn't matter who say no to you, that your dream has been shut down. The sky is the limit. You can achieve your dream. You can. That's what was going on in my head when I explain and narrate that scene of my doctorate. So Berkeley was hard. It was one of the hardest thing I've done. I will not lie. I mean, it's one of the best school. I actually want to back up a little bit. As a perfectionist, as a A-type, when I finished my undergrad, 4.0 GPA as the valedictorian, I only applied to the best school, right? I applied to, in my field, electrical engineering, Berkeley, Stanford, and MIT. I think I also applied to some of the mid-size, but my goal, as I was praying God, these were the three. I wanted to sit down with the best of the best in the world because I like excellence. I wanted to learn from the best professor. It's a risk, right? If you think about that, you are taking a big bet that there are a lot of bright students coming from all over the world, from France, from China, UK, Japan, Korea. I was surrounded by the best of the best. What makes me think that I'm going to be picked? Because everybody who apply is actually good. It's actually really, really good, really, really good. So what really hit me when I got admitted, so Berkeley gave me the admission and full fellowship. There was no question. Stanford gave me the admission, but they put me in the waiting list for the fellowship. So I knew God opened the door. And it's usually my prayer. Lyn, I remember your one of your teaching at RIP where you say God speak to each one of us in our own accent. I love that. I've always used that, how God speak to me. The language where God speak to me, usually he open the door or close the door. I've seen when he up, I say, God, if you don't want me to be there, please close the door. I will know you say no. If you want me to be there, open the door. So that moment, it made it clear Berkeley is the one who gave me full scholarship and admitted me. So when I joined Berkeley, the first thing that hit me, the imposter syndrome. I talk about that in the book, right? Being the only one surrounded by amazing, bright minds from all over the world. I start feeling so small. I'm like, God, what am I doing here? Am I really good enough? These people are really smart. Some of these people have been programming since they were kids. They had computer. I didn't have computer in Cameroon. Some of these people had started company, like the Mark Zuckerberg and the Bill Gates. I haven't had any of those opportunity. So you start doubting a little bit, like, what were you thinking that you can sit with all this amazing mindset? But again, it comes down to grit, determination, resilient. I decided to put myself to work. I was studying like a dog all my life. I didn't have a life. I didn't have a hobby. I don't know. Berkeley is a beautiful town. Every time I go back, people ask me, have you been to this restaurant, to this? I didn't have a life. I don't know anything else. Just books and study and lab. I just know Corey Hall, the electrical engineering department. I didn't have chance to do any of the fun stuff that people tell me to do at Berkeley because I was trying to get through the program. It was hard. It was excellent. It was you just had to people were so good. How do I show that I'm not here? I deserve to be at the table. That's another part of my story as a minority, especially the only Black. How do you show that you are not just here because they wanted a Black woman, right? That you actually you're part of this bright mind. So it was a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. I thank God again for my advisor. Her name is Sujeki Liu. I recognize her in my book. She was instrumental. Again, God bring angel into your life. It's when you look back, you see God, you place this lady in my life. When I fail, you have to pass the prelim exam to become officially a PhD student. So it's an oral exam, 3 professors, you are in front of them. They can ask you any question. The sky is the limit. If you fail one time, the second time they give you a second chance. If you fail the second chance, you are kicked out of the program. I've never failed an exam. So this was the first time, my first prelim, I failed it. I was so down and I studied so hard. I was working so hard to get it. And I'm sharing that example to even share that I failed. I'm a human. Even though I was a perfectionist, I failed. And I was ready to quit because I was scared. I was like, this is really hard. And Suje King sat me down. She saw something in me. Why? I don't know. She gave me her story, right? She became vulnerable, and I'm being vulnerable today. She told me, Marie-Ange, I came to the US as an immigrant. Her parent came from Taiwan. And she was also working hard, minority in many, many sense, got to Stanford. She did her PhD in Stanford. She failed her prelim. She was very vulnerable. And I had to believe I belonged to Stanford to be able to get my degree. I believe in you. I still remember what Suije told me. I believe in you. You can do this. And she helped me out the second year to study and to believe in myself when I stopped believing in me. And that's how I was able to pass my prelim the second time, and the rest was research. So my research is micro electromechanical system for those who are geek. So I built sensor device. Like think about, you say it's too complicated. The way I try to make it as simple for my mom is, in your car, you have something we call accelerometer that detect when you put your feet on the brake to change acceleration. That's an accelerometer. And those devices are sensor. We call it sensor. And they are really tiny, very tiny, micro scale. Micro scale is 1 million times smaller than one of your hair. So you build those devices in the clean room. I wear like the bunny suit, like astronaut, because everything has to be super clean. So I fabricated sensor at the micro nanoscale, very tiny, that detect acceleration using a new mechanical material called silicon germanium. That's the easy way to simplify my research.
You're brilliant. It's amazing.
It does. I didn't confuse you, but that's the easy way I tried to simplify it for my mom. So that's how I was able to build an accelerometer and eventually graduate for my PhD at Berkeley.
So it's amazing. And just stepping backwards, Marie-Ange, this is just reflecting on something that you said earlier, but when you went to UC San Diego and you were doing your the internship,
Yes.
and you were trying to save all your money
Yes.
so that you could go back, and you just ate ramen. And I was so touched. It actually brought me to tears. I can feel it again now when you said you didn't go out for coffee when people asked you. You didn't go and do anything because you couldn't afford it. And I just thought, once again, back to what we said, for those of us that have people around us, to not presume that everybody has the same flexibility with finances, that to actually be attentive and to be caring and to be generous. And you just talked about how your roommate kindly just would prepare a little bit of extra food and leave it for you. And I was so touched by that, Marie-Ange, because it just to exhort all of us to be a bit more attentive to what's happening around us, to people around us, and to actually be generous.
Thank you for pointing it out. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was the point of sharing that story, because I pray for each story I share in the memoir. And I was asking, why am I sharing all this? Yes, that's the message.
Yeah.
Be attentive. You don't know the story of the person. And today, I don't like ramen noodle. My kids know that. My daughter loves ramen noodle. She loves it. And one day when we were talking about it, I said I was traumatized by ramen noodle, because that's all I ate for almost a year. Every day I was eating ramen noodle. So yeah, that's the story.
I grew up with a dad who didn't like vegetables, especially turnips. Like turnips, it's just like a root vegetable, because he was in a prisoner of war camp for 4 years and they gave them turnips, a lot of turnips and so on. So he didn't like them at all.
After this, he was captured in the Second World War and kept in a German prisoner of war camp. And he didn't talk about it, but he didn't want to eat any of those vegetables. Brett doesn't want to eat Brussels sprouts because he went to boarding school and they had to eat a lot of Brussels sprouts.
Okay, everybody has their
story. More healthy than ramen, right?
Yeah. So Marie-Ange, I want to kind of explore a little bit of something that's not, you don't directly talk about it in the book, but I think it's really important nowadays. And that is this question of not having a victim mentality, right? So it's very easy. You could say, I'm a Black woman from Africa, single mom.
Yeah.
My mom didn't earn too much and so on. The world owes me something. And even if you come to America, nobody wants to hire you, for example, until you got the job at Hardee's, for example, or, I'm not going to get it. How did you avoid getting a victim mentality or an entitlement mentality? Because you avoided both of those things as you pressed forward. What were some of the keys for you?
You are correct, Brett. That's a beautiful question. And I'm speaking to my kids about that I don't want you to have a victim mentality. The world doesn't owe you anything. Nobody owes you anything. And I want to believe, I don't know where that is coming from in my personal journey, but I want to believe it's from my faith that Christ has freed us, right? The Bible talks about freedom in Christ. that he's in control. He is my Lord and my shepherd. He's the one who has my life. So I shouldn't rely on somebody else to provide. To be honest, even today, like my job, I tell my job is not my provider. Who is my provider is God. And he's in control. I tell Mike, he owns the house in the castle. He made all the mountain, the sky, the beautiful beach. He got it all. And all we have to do is surrender our life. And he asked us to work. Work is a blessing. Work is worship. Work is. I didn't have that concept when I was going through my Berkeley and my undergrad experience working in as a blue collar. I didn't have that, God. But I had my mom instilled in me resilience. I talk about that discipline and integrity. That working is good, right? Working is good. It's not bad for you. You need to work. So I am proud to earn what I make. Even if it's $5 an hour, I work for. I'm really proud. I don't want a handout. I actually don't like handout. I work for that, and I'm proud to make it. Discipline. Waking up in the morning. I still wake up at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. I spend time in the Word, then go to exercise. That discipline that is good for you to grow up, and integrity. So with those quality, I don't think anybody owes me anything. I think the person I owe my life is Jesus, is God. He did everything. So if things don't work out, and of course things didn't work out many times, and you talk about, I even call it from your book Conversion, the desert season. I had a lot of desert season, a lot. I got layoffs. I got, what I'm asking God, what are you doing? I don't blame somebody. I don't blame a company, a boss, a friend. I'm asking God, what are you teaching me? What do you want me to learn? What are you doing? That's where I go. That's my foundation. I go back to Jesus. What do you want to teach me in this situation? And again, God always shows up. Maybe at that moment, you don't understand why you got rejected from a job, why this didn't work out. But later, you understand, God, you saved me. God, I see your fingerprint. I see what you were doing. I've seen that all over and all over in my heart. So I really want to encourage us, especially as followers of Jesus. I know many of your audience are people who follow God and who want to live an integrated life. He's in control of our life. He's in control. He's the good shepherd. My kid just memorized Psalm 23 today.
I saw it. I watched it. It was so beautiful. I loved
The
it.
Lord is my shepherd. I will not be in lack. Yeah, this is our God. So if we have it and our shepherd, we cannot have a victim mentality. Nobody owes us anything. It's God is the one that you can put your money in the bank account with God. He's faithful. He's faithful. He might not work out the way you thought about it at that moment, but he's so smart. Even this book, Brett, I am so impressed. When I was writing this book, it was simply by obedience. Let me just sit down and write. The feedback I'm getting, I'm like, this is God. It's nothing of me. I mean, I don't even see myself as a writer. Somebody told me that stop saying you are not a writer, because I was just putting what God put in my heart, and all the feedback and from people from different gender, different race, different socio-economic, different age group, how he has spoken to them. I'm like, God, you are so smart. I could have never put this together. So that's the best way I can answer your question. I think it's also my faith and the way my mom raised us.
Fantastic.
Marie-Ange, you talk in the book when we met you, and you ended up doing our repurposing business training that we call REAP for short, REP. How have you in an ongoing way integrated your work and your faith? What journey has God taken you on in understanding that and then walking that out?
Thank you, Brett and Lyn, again for the impact you have in my life. You were the first people that spoke a language that I think was yearning in my heart, but nobody has ever put it in words or in practice, right? I was new professional in Silicon Valley. I kind of made the American dream, whatever you want to call it, if it's making the American dream, but it was not enough. I was asking God, why did you bring me in Silicon Valley? There's so much more. Does it mean? And I was also serving God at church. I love prayer. I'm a prayer person. People will know me. I love to preach the gospel. It started when I was a kid. I want to see revival. I've seen miracle. I went to Mozambique, Heidi Becker. What does that look like? Do I just go to work, make money, and pay my tithes like we were taught to help people who are full-time ministry to do the work of God? But that's not enough. Do I just serve God on Sunday? And you brought it very simple. Your work is your ministry. Most of us, we might not be full-time in church, but what we do actually every day is ministry to God. That was so liberating. That was so, you don't even realize, it was so liberating that when I went to Intel every day, putting together the netbook, the strategy, the working with the engineering team, these are my people, these are the stakeholder, right? The whole 10P, your purpose, your people, your planning. It was, you made it so simple and so practical. Praying for my stakeholder, I pray for them. You might not openly share the gospel, but you love people. You see them as God sees them. That these are people, God wants you to have influence. I pray for the product I built. People are surprised when I said I really pray for the product I built. The book of what is the name? Garner Olson changed my life.
Amazing.
Unlimited. I still have the book on my shelf. I go back every time. And I say, God, I need a miracle in this product. I need a miracle in this product. I don't know what to do. So I really integrate my faith, the journey of working with Jesus in the product strategy, in the way I treat the people that work with me, work for me, work around me. How do I be humble? How do I love? How do I show, Christ's love? If Christ was in my shoes today, what will he do? Creep was the catalyst for me to realize that this is actually worship. You are serving God. You don't have to do Bible study or preaching to know that you are serving God. What you are doing every day is serving God. So that's, Lyn, that's the way I integrate God. So I share a little bit of the last chapter of my book, being able to build product. How when I build product, I ask God, how do you want me to shape the product to have positive impact, right? Many of the product have had billions user, Meta billion of user, Amazon billion of user. I actually pray for the people who use the product. Somebody asked me that question. I say, yes, I do pray. I say, I don't know where it's going to go around the world, but I pray that you touch somebody if they use this product. You encounter that person. You love on that person. So these are some of the practical way that Reap. It started with Reap, and God has used other ministry, but it started with Reap, has helped me to kind of see myself that I am placed there as the Daniel in Babylon, the Esther in Persia, or the Joseph in Egypt, to influence the culture and to show the love another way, that you can do this another way.
So Marie-Ange, I want to explore something a little bit that's not in your book, but I'd like to get your thoughts on it. Given what's going on around the world, there's many people who won't be able to get to the US. They won't get to Silicon Valley. They won't get to a US university. But we see amazing innovation coming out of Africa, Southeast Asia, India, other places. What would you say to a young person who won't have the opportunity to come overseas, but technology's changed, all right? There's online learning, there's all sorts of things. What advice would you give them? And what hope would you give them for, look, you can develop products that impact the world, your nation, your town, etc., from where you are? What would you say to that?
Thank you for the question. I love that. My heart again is for young people, the next generation, African people, Asian people, people in developing country who are asking, how can my life make an impact? How can I live for such a time as this? I have an instance in my book where I'm sharing. I'm doing actually a lot of mentorship right now, even from the US, Zoom like this call, where I mentor, I speak to university. I did one speaking to the engineering school in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, the top school in engineering. I was speaking to young engineer. And that was actually one of the questions one of the young engineer asked me, that Marie-Ange, do you feel like it's because you are in America, you have achieved all this amazing accolade and all that, we are here in Cameroon, but do you think we can have an impact? I say, yes, sir. Yes, my son, you can have an impact right there in Cameroon. You don't have to be in the US. So we talk about AI, you talk about technology, right? We started talking about artificial intelligence, that artificial intelligence is changing now. It's going so fast. Even me, I have to keep up. Every day there's a new application. But I ask him, you are an engineer. You're going to finish your degree very soon. the next leader of Africa or the people that will make the difference, you have to think about what are the problems that we have
Yeah.
that we can solve, taking advantage of artificial intelligence and what it cannot. I want to add value, right? Because artificial intelligence concern, is it going to replace our job? No. If you understand our context, what are some of the problems that we have in Africa that artificial intelligence can make me more efficient,
Yeah.
more, you know the limitation, you know what it can do
Yeah.
and what you cannot do, and you add the value in that particular problem. That's your differentiation. That's
Yeah.
what will make you stand. That's what you make you build product or build infrastructure that will help your community. And the goal at the end of the day is not to get out to America. I don't even advise that, right? There's so many problems locally that we can solve with local solution. I'm willing to help you as you guys are thinking about local problem. You already have some ideas. Maybe you need some partnership with advisor, collaboration with the Western world to see how we can, if even sponsorship and all that. Let's work together. But you guys understand the context, the African context better than I. I left 20 years ago. You understand the context. You learn about AI today. Learn about it. Don't be scared of that. Don't be scared. Me too. I learn every day. What can it do best? What can it not do? What are the limitations? And then you use your LLM to solve the problem of African context. That's the key of your differentiation. So yes, I want to talk to an African person, a young person there. First, start with the problem in your continent. What are the we have some basic problem, right? Electricity, water. What are some of the other, like farming? Well, how do we get to our farm to the city? How do we, even education? How do we make sure that all the kids have access to education? And then what are some of the solution now? Now we engineer or we are teacher or whatever. We can innovate using AI or even not using AI. Let's say it might not even be AI. And what is my added value to that? So that's what I was encouraging them to think about. And I've heard about there's a lot of innovation. I don't know if we have time. Many of the African countries that are coming out now with young people who are thinking outside of the box, not waiting for the US. Yeah, not waiting for the government to solve the problem. That's what sometimes I've been thinking. The government has to solve this problem.
Yeah. No, we've seen a lot of drone technology, other things, agricultural solutions coming out of Africa. Lyn and I were in a robotics lab in Rwanda earlier this year, which is amazing, just seeing what people are doing. And so I agree with you that God gives solutions to people who, if they ask the right questions, what's on your heart, what are the problems, and then not waiting for somebody from overseas to solve the problem. Yeah, collaboration is great. That's great. But
that's what I do. I do a lot of collaboration with a lot of young, bright entrepreneur. I mentor. I'm part of Tech Women. I don't know if you saw that in the book. I mentor a lot of bright entrepreneur ladies because I know the challenge. Like as a woman entrepreneur in Africa is difficult. It's difficult. Try to be advisor, a sounding board. When they have ideas, we get together on a Zoom call. Let's go through your ideas. What are the next, one, because I do strategy. That's my job. Building the strategy. What are the problems you are solving? How do you define? How do you validate that this is really a problem? Have you done your research? Who are the people you need to talk to? Right? What is the next step? How do you validate the solution? Who are the customer? How do you narrow down, prioritize? Prioritization is a big one. You cannot do all of this at once. You want to be able to narrow down on the prioritization. What is the cost? Do you need to build it? Do you need to partner, bringing them relationships? So I do a lot of that pro bono just because I care, because I want to make a difference to many of these entrepreneurs and help to develop the continent, Africa, and other emerging markets. So that's something I'm really passionate about.
Great. Fantastic.
Amazing. Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah.
So we've talked about integrating your work and your faith. You then added on an extra role by the wonderful work of God in your life with 2 children. I loved reading, was your difficult journey that you went through, but praise God for the gift of your daughter and your son. You're now busy integrating being a working person, being a person of faith, being a wife, being a mom. Do you have any advice for people that are saying, I'm trying to juggle a whole lot of things as a working woman, as a technologist, as somebody out there, as well as being a mom? What do you What do you advise people?
Thank you for the question, Lynn. I have also a part of that in my memoir. You touch all the sweet things that have been dear and near to my heart. Yes, as I grew up in leadership in corporate America, it's become tough. You are being spread, too many people asking for your attention. I'm sure, Brett, you have the same. I mean, I know sometimes even when I email you, I don't know if you see my email, I'm like, okay, it's busy. I'm sure it's busy. And I feel that. I feel that I have one chapter in my book where my son was turning 7 last year, and I was juggling, arranging for his birthday, and I just came back from Morocco. I just, trying to figure out the way fencing. And after all this juggling, one of the mom in Los Gatos, we have kids in the same public school. She asked me, Marie-Ange, how do you do it all? That was the question. And my answer in the book, and it's still my answer today, I don't think I've figured it out. I don't think I figure. What I figure out is that they are priority in my life. There's somebody, I don't know if he's who said that you can have it all, but not at the same time. There's a say like that, you can have it all.
Yeah.
An ambitious woman, you can be a successful woman, but it might not be at the same time. And it's the same concept that I have priority. God is first in my life. It's definitely first. In the morning when I wake up 5 o'clock, I spend time in the Word. I spend time with God. It's my life. It's everything. So this is priority number one. I will not compromise that. Second is my family, my husband, right? I want to make sure that we grow old together like you guys, that we spend time. Not always perfect. Of course, I blame, yes, I can be guilty. Sometimes I'm gone and all that. I forgot to maybe, make sure that Mark is okay. And then the kids, my kids are my life. I love them to death. You've seen the miracle. They are miracle kids. And then everything, work is come after that, after family and non-profit. It always doesn't happen that way. I have to be honest that priority doesn't always stay. That weekend when she asked me that question, I just came back from Morocco. I just, UK. I missed my daughter fencing. I felt so bad. I came and apologized. I said, Zoe, I am so sorry. So what I do now with my kids, instead of being guilty, even my husband, I include them in the conversation. This is mommy calendar. This is daddy calendar. I have to go here. I have to go here. I need your prayer. I need your support. I'm so sorry. I ask a lot of so sorry. I cannot make it to your game. She loves fencing. She wants me to go, but I'm going to be there. I call her up sometime, cheer her up, make sure that she knows I care. I love her. I see what she's doing. Same thing for my son. I have you, baby. Even though I'm not present in your game, I'm still thinking about you. And I just put them in the daily struggle of all what is going on. Tell them, this job is crazy. Pray for me. I'm stressed out. Sometimes they come, they say, Mommy, I need you. I say, Yan, I'm really stressed out right now. I need your help. Please. I cannot help you right now. Can you understand that? Then he say, yes, Mama, I understand. Say, can you pray for me? So I involve them in the daily struggle of juggling as a technologist, as a person of faith, and as a mom. So that's the best I can say. I don't think it's a perfect crafted answer, but that's
an honest answer. And it's
Marie-Ange, we'll give you two tips as older parents. Number one, when you do go on a kid's field trip or to the soccer, selfies, get some photographs that you were there so that you can prove later on you were there. You need documentary evidence. The second thing is, and I don't need to encourage you to do this, when you're there, like run up and down and scream like a crazy woman. And then hello, my mom was there.
This comes out of a story. Our son Dave at one point said, Mom, you were never at any of my soccer games. And I said, I was, but I sat up quietly in the bleachers while Brett ran up and down yelling at the
ref, at the coach, at the kids. They knew I was there.
I should have been standing making more noise when I was there.
I'm sure Marie-Ange can make more noise than me.
That's a good tip. That's a good tip. Yeah. So
and take the photos when you're on the field trips and everything so that they remember. Well, you have been such a blessing to us through the years. We came to your wedding in France. I loved reading about that in the book, and it reminded me again of that absolutely magnificent event, and we'll never ever forget that, and the honor that it was to be able to be there sitting against the backdrop of that French chateau and the beautiful weather, and so wonderful.
It was wonderful. The night before your wedding, we had a lot of stuff going on. We had everything, and then we were packing like at 11 o'clock at night, and Lyn looked at me and said, did we pray about going to this wedding?
I remember that. I remember that. I remember you like to tell that story. That's a good one. I love that. I love that.
It's like, who prays?
I love that story.
And a French chateau, but it was
I
so precious and so special, and such an honor to be there. And we're so grateful to know you, and thank you so much for sharing with us. And how's the best way for people to get your book, Marie-Ange?
Right now, it's on Amazon. Amazon, you just go to Amazon. For such a time as this, from humble roots in Africa to Silicon Valley leadership, you're going to find it. Right now, it's in top. I'm surprised again. This is God mercy and grace. It's been ranked top new release. So if you put for such a time as this, just like that, it's going to come new. So I'm asking people more. For me, this is actually pro bono. I'm really not trying to make money. I want the story to be told, to encourage, inspire. So I want, if you can give a review. That's why I'm asking all my friends, just put a review, help on the search engine optimization of Amazon, right? To keep the book on the top so that people who don't know me, like in the middle of nowhere, maybe in Europe or wherever, they can easily find the book.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Since I've just finished reading it, I'm going to work on my review this afternoon. We
both bought the book.
But we have 2 copies we can now share as well. And
Thank you.
So for all the people that watch this podcast, please get it and please review it. So we encourage Marie-Ange in what she's doing as well.
Well, I'm grateful that Marie-Ange married Mark, because otherwise when we went around for dinner, we would have got Hardee's hamburgers, and instead he cooked us rabbit.
We did lapin.
Remember that? Yeah.
That's true.
I didn't forget.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you.
Bless you, Marie-Ange. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your story, and thank you for taking the time to write it down and to share it.
No, thank you I'm humbled to be part, to be able to share my story in your podcast. Thank you.